landing permit by the South African authorities for the aircrafts to land for the next batch of evacuees to leave South Africa. Also coming up, could your next trip via public transport cost you more? Well, fuel prices are up, but transport operators can't agree on what their next step will be. This hour will attempt to clarify the confusion for you. And later in the bulletin, a warning rings out to NDC members. It's clear and simple. Stop the presidential campaign activities. The elders say they are disruptive, but who is campaigning and when does it officially start? Details of all of these and more for the next 1 hour, including business and sports at the tail end. Before that, though, let's bring you the news summaries with Grace Hamwa-Ajiman. Hello, Grace.
Hi, Martin. Well, Finance Minister Dr. Kasiel Atefo has announced that the Ghana Cocoa Board will soon issue commercial papers to raise about $1 billion to finance cocoa bean purchases from the 2026-27 crop season. Speaking at the Ghana-UK Investment Summit 2026 in London, Dr. Forson said the move forms part of a new financing strategy aimed at reducing cocoa board's dependence on traditional offshore syndicated loans. Away from that, thousands of customers of Equity Savings and Loans Limited have been left stranded after widespread reports that their deposits have become inaccessible following what appears to be the collapse of the institution. The situation has triggered anger, anxiety, and renewed concerns about stability within Ghana's saving and loan sector. The development has left depositors unable to meet basic needs, run businesses, or service planned investment. And the Sekondi Takoradi could soon turn one of its biggest urban challenges into a major source of energy following a strategic partnership to establish a modern waste energy plant expected to generate about 450 megawatts of electricity for the national grid. The ambitious project, spearheaded by Major Frederick Faustinus Feidu and the Sekondi Takoradi Metropolitan Assembly, is expected to transform the metropolis's troubled waste management system while creating jobs. That's it for the news summaries, Martin.
Thank you very much, Grace. Let's settle for the details, and we are starting from development elsewhere around the world. You know that a lot has been happening in South Africa, and Ghanaians have been involved or are in the center of the developments there. Well, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the minister in charge of it say that all is set for the second batch of Ghanaian evacuees to leave South Africa, indicating that immediately a landing permit is granted by the South African authorities for the aircraft to land, the next batch will leave for Ghana. According to Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, the numbers have risen to almost 900 Ghanaians seeking to flee the unsafe streets of South Africa. Ghana's speedy efforts at getting its citizens out of harm's way in South Africa has been delayed by South African authorities, who are yet to grant a landing permit for the two aircrafts expected to carry Ghanaian nationals out of the country. The Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa says although the number of voluntary evacuees has increased from the original 300, no effort will be spared in repatriating every Ghanaian willing to leave a continually deteriorating country of South Africa. He further debunked assertions by the South African authorities that majority of Ghanaians who were repatriated were illegal immigrants in that country. Let's listen to the minister who has been speaking in an interview.
The final batch of Ghanaians in South Africa have all now registered. We have a little above 600. Earlier, those who wrote their names was in the region of 800, but it's clear that we'll have to go beyond that. We now are exceeding 900, but thanks to the compassionate leadership of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, he has said that all Ghanaians in harm's way, in distress, who are being harassed, being dehumanized, we should not leave anyone behind. And our foreign policy is that of compassion, is that of leaving no Ghanaian behind. And so we are going to make sure that all Ghanaians are safely taken out of harm's way. And as I have said, once the safety and the dignity of any Ghanaian anywhere in the world is affronted, you can trust that the foreign ministry the government of Ghana will come and assist you. We do not want anybody in this world thinking that Ghanaians are orphaned, Ghanaians don't have a government, Ghanaians are not valued, are not cherished, and so they can mess around with Ghanaians. We will not accept that, and we will go all out to protect Ghanaians and to make sure that the welfare of Ghanaians is safeguarded. So I can assure you that all is set for the next batch to arrive. We're just waiting for the South African authorities to finalize our request for the flight permits so that our chartered jets can move in and bring all the Ghanaians who have registered. And let me use this opportunity to say that contrary to a lot of disinformation, misinformation, and propaganda out there, the vast majority of Ghanaians we have registered. We've looked at their documentation. These are legal migrants. Disregard all those claims that these are people who are illegal migrants. It is not true at all. And we've challenged those who are making these claims to put out the evidence. They have not been able to put out any evidence. Let me also say that what is beautiful about the registration we are doing is that we do it in collaboration with the Department of Home Affairs, the South African authorities, who are there at our High Commission to check for people who they are looking for in their database, people who are wanted, suspected criminals. And so far, not a single Ghanaian is of interest to the South African authorities. So again, this claim by some propagandists, those who seek to tarnish the image of Ghana, that our citizens were lawbreakers, people who commit crime, and people who are contributing to insecurity and instability in South Africa. The evidence does not support it. You have the security officials there with their database, their computers, with their wanted lists, checking fingerprints and all of that. And so far, not a single Ghanaian. So clearly, Ghana is not responsible for any high crime rates or any, avalanche of illegality going on in South Africa.
And that's the Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa. In a related development, the founder and leader of the Economic Freedom Fighters, Julius Malema, has apologized to Ghanaians and Africans at large over the xenophobic attacks in his home country. He's also been organizing a press conference where he states that a number of these issues being raised do not align with the vision that the founding fathers of South Africa have regarding the country in the Southern African country. So we would bring you that insight later. But let's go to the phone lines now and engage Dr. Victor Doke, who is a lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Training Center and a security analyst. Doc, a very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Thank you, Martin, for having me. It's a pleasure.
What are your thoughts about this delayed granting of permits for the aircrafts we are told to land? From information we have gathered, all is set. In fact, as of Sunday, the next batch was expected, but we were told that the delays are due to the inability of the South African authorities to grant us permit to land the two aircrafts that we have chartered to bring our citizens home. What are your thoughts on this?
Thank you very much. I think, first of all, the South African state or the South African government have realized that their inability to curb this menace has cost them their international reputation. You're talking about a country that is part of the G20 and therefore described as an African agency. And if you're an African agency in such an international organization, what does that mean? It means you, of all people, should know that respect to human rights, protection for other foreign nationals living in your domain is a priority. And you are the same country that went to the International Criminal Court of Justice to report Israel for what? Crimes against humanity in Gaza. And you are not able to what? Curb movements that have targeted innocent foreign nationals. What does it mean? A big irony. It makes you have failed in that regard. And the South African government has no authority to say they are going to stop this repatriation. Other than that, we as a country, through the president or the foreign affairs minister, must call the attention of the United Nations, the African Union, including SADC, the sub-regional body where South Africa belongs to, and then report them for violating international laws. They know it, and they know it's biting. Now, after we evacuate Ghanaian citizens, what is going to happen with regards to the South African government is what they are looking at. They cannot bear the consequences. They cannot prevent Ghanaians from leaving. There's cause and grounds and evidence for us to evacuate our people. And the failure of the South African government, such that you are not able to protect citizens of other national countries, it's a big dent on your country and reputation.
And clearly also there are those who are of the school of thought that they actually did not expect Ghana to be quick in the actions they've taken, especially for the first batch to go, and even the second and third batch are ready to leave. So it probably caught them by surprise to some extent. But still on that tangent, could this, affect the kind of bilateral relations we have with South Africa? And how should Ghana navigate this so we do not, mar it in any way?
Right. We are not going to mar the bilateral relations. If anything, they have marred it. But trust me, we are going to maintain that diplomatic channel, okay? It is very essential. However, this would mean that we'll be cautious with regards to dealing with, elements within the South African government. There could be new leadership who recognize and apologize for these, unfortunate incidents, and that would open doors for, reconciliation and whatnot. But as it is now, whatever the current leadership is doing, it seems to be like they are in support with regards to their inaction. And so, yes, it will affect our bilateral relations. We will not sever it, but we'll be cautious. And being cautious would mean that you are going to know the priority areas to deal with the South African government. In anything, if we are supposed to get answers why they are not giving clearance, we can call their, High Commissioner here and then issue a state warning. That could be one of the ways we go. Whilst we wait for, a statement from the AU especially, and that also brings to another question: when this regional body is really up to the task for what it says, Peace and Security Council, what are they doing with regards to ensuring what? Conflict prevention, conflict management. What is it that they have to do? If they have to go down there, meet the leaders of the South African government, and then issue stern warnings, sanctions should be applied as of now, but we are not seeing the sanctions. Sanctions in any form, in any way, we have to issue the sanctions for it to work. But our relationship will continue, but it will be a cautious one in on tenterhooks. Trust me, when next year the President, John Mahama, ascends the chair of the AU, then it's going to be a new dimension with regards to what we are seeing. He may hit on it or may not, but overall, our relationship with them is going to be a very, very cautious one.
Right. And I mean, the primary concern that some of these South Africans were pushing out, especially on social media, or those who spoke to media across the board, one key issue they were raising was that the citizens in South Africa should leave and go to their own countries and develop those countries. So it may not necessarily be all evil, especially if you just listen to the rhetoric and take aside the actions they were taking to harm people. If you listen to the rhetoric, the general idea is that you guys are in our country because your countries are not developed and that you've come here to come and try and make ends meet. What lessons can be taken from the general episode playing before our eyes for other African countries? That yes, your citizens are there because of this, but are there any positives at all we can glean from what's happening in South Africa?
Okay, so there's no positive from negative from such situations, in conflict situations, except that this is a different dynamics altogether. People travel for various reasons. And once they are there legally, okay, contributing to the local economy, okay, and recruiting South Africans to be part of their business, paying them, paying taxes, okay, that is a positive, and contributions to that local economy is essential. But we have our neighbors, Nigerians, yes, we have conflicts one or other ways where they are not supposed to tread, they try, and then what? Our institutions are quick to come in and resolve the issue. Now, we are aiming for what? A borderless Africa. Talking about what? The African Continental Free Trade Area. And with this kind of attitude, how do we even implement that very nice policy or framework? If you say we should leave your country because ours is not developed, and that because you are developed, you are taking your jobs or whatever, that's not the way to go. There are channels. You can present petitions and then let your authorities deal with the situation. Otherwise, people have lived there decades, years. There was nothing untoward like this. Why now? It means the lessons we are taking is the individual states having to look at their structural ills, their structural challenges. South Africa has its own problems with regards to creation of employment, provision of basic needs, just like Ghana, just like Nigeria, just like any other African country. But that does not mean that when foreigners come into our countries to do legitimate business, we should feel they are taking our jobs. We can go into the same avenue as they are or partner with them. That is the lessons we can take from this. But overall, if we aim to implement policies or frameworks such as the African Continental Free Trade, Borderless Africa, then all these would mean we are not going to achieve our objective or aims. We'll still be where we are. We'll go forward. And we should forget about development.
Doc, always a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you very much, Martin.
And that is Dr. Victor Doke, who is a lecturer at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping and Training Center and also a security analyst. And what do you make of the position that he has just shared with us regarding what the Foreign Affairs Minister has said? According to Foreign Affairs Minister Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa, all is set for the next batch of Ghanaians to come. Their number has risen. We are looking above 900 Ghanaians who want to leave South Africa, and that is plus the earlier 300 that came last week. So a little over 600 people are expected. And if you had followed key points over the weekend, the Ghanaian High Commissioner to South Africa, His Excellency Benjamin Kwashi, gave clear indications that 2 aircrafts were going to leave at the same time from South Africa to Ghana. But the problem we are being told at the moment is that the South African authorities are expected to give permits for those 2 aircrafts to land so that our citizens or our compatriots can board and return home. But as it stands, that permit is yet to be granted. As to whether it will be given before close of day today or by close of day tomorrow or probably by end of week, we are unable to tell, but trust your reliable news source to update you when we do get that information. Away from that to another very topical subject matter, it has to do with the LGBTQ plus bill, which was passed last week by Parliament. Now, Chairman of the Advocates for Christ, Edem Senanu, says the anti-LGBTQ bill needs further amendment before being sent to the President for assent. Meanwhile, Majority Leader in Parliament, Mahama Ayariga, has assured Ghanaians that the President will assent to the bill upon his return from an official trip to the United Kingdom. Noura Mohammed has more in this following report.
Many Ghanaians, including rights groups and religious organizations, are eagerly awaiting President John Dramani Mahama's decision on the newly passed Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill, also known as the Anti-LGBTQ Plus Bill. While the minority in Parliament continues to oppose the amended legislation, supporters are urging the President to grant his assent. Chairman of Advocates for Christ and a strong supporter of the bill, Edem Senanu, says further amendment is needed before assent is granted.
My expectation is that the President should review And I'm saying this because some issues have been raised regarding the exemptions, the Article 9 exemptions. There's at least one that I think weakens the intent of this pro-family values bill, as we call it. And I think that we ought to review that. You cannot just leave it and say any non-governmental or public sector entity that gives information should be exempt. It is important that the purpose be clearly articulated.
Meanwhile, questions have emerged over the time frame within which the president is expected to act, as well as the legal options available to him under the Constitution. Private legal practitioner Martin Asiedu-Dartey weighs in.
Generally, this is what it is. The law doesn't tie the president to a specific time that he must sign. It's not expressly stated aside that he must sign, let's say, within a week or two. Otherwise, then he's in trouble. No. What it is that he's been given a lot of leeway to decide when to sign, right? But we also know that when you go around or when say you look at the context of the bill, in the past, he's indicated that he's willing to sign once Parliament passes the bill and it comes to him. We all expect that he will do it within a reasonable time. If he finds that there are parts of the bill that are not, let's say, constitutional, okay, and it's possible Parliament can slip here or there, then in that case, he will do a paper and tell Parliament that he's not able to sign because of X, Y, Z.
For now, Ghanaians await a final decision from the president, a move that could either advance the legislation or send it back to Parliament for further review. Noura Mohammed, Accra.
And staying on that same subject, though, the President of the Republic, President John Dramani Mahama, has also been answering questions at Chatham House in the United Kingdom, where he's been interacting with a number of Ghanaians and people of different walks of life. And one question was posed to the President having to do with whether or not he will assent to the anti-LGBTQ bill when it does, come before him. The Flagstaff House, and this is the president's response, which has all in and of itself generated some public response.
The only reason Ghana's in the news. it has been one.
Yeah. Parliament has been considering it, and it was supposed to have been passed last week. There have been a few issues raised. One, that there wasn't quorum when it was passed. That's an issue that has come up. And then two, there were some procedural lapses in terms of its passage. I just got some communication that the Speaker was reading a statement to address the issue of the lapses in the passage of the bill. And so, like I said, when I was the opposition leader, the president has a number of options in this matter. It must come for assent. And so once the president gets it, you go through it because you are not part of the discussion in Parliament. And so the legal representative, the legal counsel in the presidency and the Attorney General would sit on it because it was a private member's motion. Right. This was not a government bill. And so we'll look at it and make sure that everything is in order before the president is advised to assent. The president has another option if there are some things that he thinks are a problem. He can refer to the Council of State for advice. The Council of State is an advisory body to the president, and so they will take a look at it, and then they will advise the president. And if there are issues, substantial issues that are raised, the president would return the bill to Parliament, indicating exactly what the issues are. And so there's still quite a while to go before that bill becomes law.
Thank you for setting that out so clearly. Let me ask you.
And And so you heard President John Dramani Mahama there giving an answer to the question of whether or not he will sign the anti-LGBTQ bill into law if it does come before him at the Flagstaff House. And he has given his answer. You heard it there. And that answer he has given has thrown up quite some frenzy, with a number of people already sharing different views on the president's answer, saying that there isn't enough certainty in the answer that the president has given. But, well, your thoughts are also welcome on this issue. Do send it to us on our social media streams, Facebook, YouTube. We are there. Do let us know what you make of these thoughts expressed by His Excellency, the President of the Republic. Away from that, though, the cocoa sector is getting a major legislative boost, and we will bring you that particular issue as well as some others that we have for you. This is 3FM 92.7. Stay with us. Is the station. Stay with us. Let's go on to some other stories now. And you know that a lot has been happening in the last few days regarding issues of transport fares. So an increase in fuel prices is compelling commercial drivers to demand higher transport fares, with a proposed 20% adjustment currently being disputed, even as commuters express dissatisfaction over any potential increase. There is more in this report by Noble Cresby Annan.
Transport operators in Ghana are divided over a proposed 20% increase in public transport fares, with fuel price recording marginal increases and spare parts cost continuing to rise. Operators say they are facing mounting pressure to sustain their businesses and keep services running. As a result, a section of the transport industry has proposed a 20% upward adjustment in fares. For some drivers, this is a good starting point.
It have a lot of impact because now they have to increase fare. If fare increases too, they will increase spare parts. If spare parts increase, they will increase foodstuffs and many things.
Tomato better 3 times 4 times. Ni no mo me antum ye a high spare parts so boy heading. As I could see. Sana ya bedroom pempen so say almost on bet mama 20% no. To on the buy. I
think this 20% cannot help us at all, honestly speaking. No, it's not enough. The 20% is not enough. It will not help us at all. About 30%, it will be better. 30% maybe we'll manage. Even that one too is a problem actually, but we'll manage.
It doesn't help us at all. At least, roughly, if we can make it up until 30%, it's going to help us.
But 20% is not enough. I think it should be like 30%.
In some way, it's going to benefit someone, and another way, someone is going to suffer, because the 20% is going to help us at least manage the fuel that we buy, because it's like we are going inside, our income is going inside the fuel. So, but another way, the passenger who is receiving a little salary is also going to suffer.
Meanwhile, passengers are expressing concern over the possible impact of any increase on their cost of living, warning that higher fares will further strain household incomes already affected by inflation.
An increase in fuel prices won't help us right now. My sales aren't good. I will increase the price of my goods if fuel prices go up.
Just as discussions on the proposed percentage adjustment continue, the road transport operators say the purported 20% increase should be disregarded. The group insists consultations are still ongoing, adding that they remain in continuous engagement and negotiation with the Ministry of Transport to reach a consensus.
And you heard that report by Christian Yali. Let's go to the phone lines and speak to the General Secretary of the GPRTU, Godfred Abuibere. Mr. Abuibere, very good evening to you. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Thank you so much, my brother.
Please help us with clarity. Yes, there seem to be reports of an increase in fuel prices, but are we looking at a potential increase in transport fares as well, or we've not gotten to that level yet?
Yeah, thank you for your question. But I think what you have just said, you've answered the question again. Because if you look at fare adjustment procedures, we normally have to do a survey and then gather all the factors that determine running cost of commercial car, and then submit to the Minister of Transport. And we go to a roundtable meeting. At the end of the day, we arrive at the margin of increase, that's the percentage we're going to increase the fares. Now, so far, most of our drivers are complaining on the character of the fuel. Fuel moves up and moves down, moves up and moves down. And as we speak today, the release from the MPA about 2 days ago says that by the end of today, diesel, as we are looking at 16 point something, will come back to 15 cedis per liter. So we don't understand the particular reason behind those who had actually issued that document that's going around all the media houses, claiming that they are going to increase fares back tomorrow, and then indicating about the increment will be 20%. We don't know what are the indicators that they have gathered, and then think that the adjustment should reach that 20%. So today, we had met the transport minister, and then we told him that we are the persons who normally have accredited to sign the document to effect increment or reduction. For that matter, once we are not have no knowledge of that document, we also issued a communique today as a rebuttal on what they had done, and to nullify that impression that they had created between for all the traveling public, and that we think by tomorrow nobody should go to any terminal and pay any new lot of fare. And even in which case it is done, they should report to us. If it's a GPR terminal or a GRCC terminal, they should report to us, and then that particular terminal ranking will be issued out of them.
Right. And so is it that this communication has gone to all your members, so they need to abide by this directive you've given?
Yes, exactly so. We have done that. We forwarded to all our regions. All regions and all the branches all have gotten a copy of it. And nobody will go beyond that.
We know that one of the key issues that does come up every now and then when we are waiting, a review of transport, of fuel prices is consultation. And then when you also believe that it is necessary for transport fares to go up, you also consult with your members and leadership. In the wake of this new fuel price increments, have you had the necessary consultation with the appropriate authorities, government for that matter?
I just said that no, and that was what I told you mentioned earlier. I said that right from where we are, the fuel went up and went down, up to even 9 point something per liter. And from there, it started going up to 18. 18, we held a meeting with the transport minister, and then they assured that within the next price window it will come down. And really, it came down from 18 to 17 to 16. And then we are told that by the next price window it will come back to 15. So there's no point we need to rush to effect the first lot of increment. When definitely it goes down again, it will be difficult for us to reduce the fares again. So we just have to urge the general public to disregard that publication of the intended fare increment tomorrow.
Right. And maybe in concluding this part of the conversation, certainly the reasons why we are likely to see, or we are seeing this fuel price increase, is because of external factors. Do you believe that fully and truly the external factors are still affecting us and could even affect us the more, and government may not necessarily be able to absorb whatever difference there may be when it has to do with maybe increasing transport fares?
No, when we reach there, government will take a decision on their own. We cannot think for government. Right now, if the fuel prices is coming down, we can't think for government. And we are not going to know that whether the war will continue or it will end.
Right. Well, that's a fair point to make, but fingers crossed. I'm sure it's our anticipation and hope that things will normalize elsewhere, so we don't have to increase fares. But thank you so much for speaking to us this evening, sir.
Thank you.
And you've been hearing the one of the very key issues that plague a lot of people: transport fares. When transport fares do go up, it affects almost everything. And you just heard from the GPRTU, who have given indications that as we speak, they have not increased any transport fares. So disregard the reports you are hearing about an increase in transport fares. Although they know of a proposed 20% adjustment in fuel prices, they are optimistic that things could normalize going forward. And fingers crossed, we'll wait to see what their consultations with government, which is yet to happen, and global developments would mean to the fuel we all consume as a country. On to some other stories now. Cocoa sector is getting a massive legislative boost. This afternoon, Ghana's finance minister said a new bill will soon be laid before Parliament. According to Dr. Atto-Forson, this new legislation will reform Cocoa Board and strengthen the institution's financial and operational framework. He also says a transaction advisor has already submitted a report on a new commercial paper intended to support Cocoa Board's planned debt issuance and enhance its access to financing through the capital market. Here is the finance minister at the Ghana-UK Summit Investment Conference, which is currently ongoing in the United Kingdom.
The transaction advisor that we contracted to put together the Cocoa Board new issuance have just submitted their report, and I think we are ready to issue the paper anytime soon. It's going to be commercial paper. Non-residents will be invited to participate, and we are not solely relying on Ghanaian banks. We rely also on pension funds and also on non-resident investors. We'll issue it 3 tranches. Tranche 1 will be able to cover up to 2 months of purchases. Tranche 2 will cover another 3 months of purchases, and tranche 3 will cover the rest of the season. We have structured it in such a way that the receivables will go into an escrow arrangement, and we'll use the same receivables to repay those facilities. We have structured it again in a way that will retire it within a period of 8 months. So 8 months, the debt will not exist, and the following season we'll reissue it. The old syndication served Ghana well for at least 33 years. Even though it provided liquidity to the central bank, to the Ghana Cocoa Board to be able to buy cocoa, it denied the country from value addition. And so we believe that we need to depart from the old structuring. We'll be able to process a minimum of 50% of cocoa purchases locally.
And that's our Finance Minister, Dr. Kaisel Atto-Forson. There is a bit more on the cocoa sector reform because the Central Bank Governor, Dr. Johnson Pandit Esiama, says a new commercial paper program is also in the works to address the financial challenges of Cocoa Board. This, he says, could be ready as little as in 2 weeks for its implementation to commence.
Financing for Cocoa Board. I know there are plans to introduce some new regimes. The minister is working hard on that. But yesterday I had a discussion with them. They should be able to issue commercial paper. You know, so instead of just going to borrow from a bank, because you know there's a limit to how much you can take from a bank. We link it to the amount of capital that the bank has. So if the amount, the ratio will go, you know, above the regulatory levels, then that loan cannot happen. So there are constraints. But a good part is they can issue commercial paper. The question is if it is secure, if the facility is well structured. We have over 100 billion in pension funds. So why do we struggle to raise 4 billion cedis when there's 100 billion sitting in pension funds? So I told them it's about structuring it well. So that issue should be addressed very soon, but it shouldn't be a sole dependence on the banks. We should use the capital market, right? Because the funds are there. You know, now that treasury bills have gone down, people are looking for where to place their investment. So it's all about structuring. And I'm working with Cocoa Board together with the minister to put together some commercial paper. I'm sure within the next 1 week or two, that problem will be addressed.
And that is Dr. Johnson Esiama, Ghana's central bank governor. Joining us on the phone now is the co-convener of the Ghana Civil Society Cocoa Platform. And he's in the person of Obed Owusu-Adai. Mr. Owusu-Adai, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Hi, thank you very much for having me.
I'm sure you've heard the finance minister and the governor of the central bank both talking about a proposed new paper or a planned debt issuance to help with the running of Cocoa Board and especially the debt that is hanging around its neck. What are your general thoughts on this new restructuring proposal from government?
Well, thank you once again for having me. And we have always said that the major problem within the cocoa sector is liquidity. Liquidity meaning that funds to be able to purchase beans from farmers. And this season is a good example that farmers took their beans to the cocoa shed, and as at now, some farmers have still not been paid. So any attempt by government, by Cocoa Board, by the Bank of Ghana to support in restructuring and bringing new liquidity into the sector is always welcomed, and we look forward to hearing the details of how these papers and how these liquidities will be managed within the sector.
And what sort of bill should this be? What critical areas would you expect that it be addressing?
Well, one of the major problems of the current Cocoa Board is that it has become the alpha and omega within the sector. And we say this not in any mean way, but just to point to the fact that when you look at the architecture of the Cocoa Board, they are managing farms, or they are helping farmers manage their farms through their Cocoa Health and Extension Division. They are producing seeds, they are purchasing beans, they are marketing beans. It appears when you look at the whole supply chain, and even to the some extent the value chain, Cocoa Board is at the center of every step of this chain, and I think that is where it needs to change. There has been a lot of changes in the global cocoa trading and global cocoa marketing, and the Cocoa Board needs to also take advantage of some of the things that are happening. I think, and not only me, but my colleagues within the civil society space, we strongly believe that it is about time that the Cocoa Board attempted to decentralize and also break their work into smaller pieces, or welcome other players into the space. There are a lot of good examples that we can learn from. Look at what is happening in Cameroon and elsewhere, where they have invited private sector into the cocoa marketing space. We think that is where Ghana should be learning from and probably should be going. Cocoa Board cannot take upon themselves all these responsibilities. That is what is leading to some of the uncontrolled expenses and the cost and debt that we are seeing, that they are doing everything. They cannot continue to do everything. They need to welcome private sector and other players into that space.
So largely it has been, Cocoa Board is too centralized. They need to decentralize and bring in private sector players like you're indicating.
Yes, and we think that is what we think should be done, but it should be done in a way that will also not take away the management responsibilities of Cocoa Board. We know that Cocoa Board has been protecting farmers from market shocks, and that we still want Cocoa Board to continue playing that role. But we still think for us to do away with these liquidity challenges that we've been facing almost every year, we welcome the reform that they are proposing, but in the long term, there need to be private sector participation within that space. If not, 10 years down the line, we will come back to what the syndication did to us. This new bond and papers that they are talking about, when cocoa syndication started, we saw it as a good thing, and it was coming to address the problem. Some years down the line, we are seeing the challenges that it has brought. we think private sector participation in cocoa marketing and liquidity issues will be the way forward. And it's happening everywhere. When you go to the mining sector, other sectors, they are welcoming private sector participation within that space. And so I think Cocoa Board should be magnanimous enough to welcome private sector participation within that space.
Right, and finally, I heard part of your submission talk about the fact that Cocoa Board largely has been protecting farmers. We know, or is expected to be protecting farmers. The major part of the conversation largely has been on the policy direction and the management of Cocoa Board. Is the gap between the regular farmer or the everyday farmer who goes to farm, break their back to make sure their cocoa trees perform well for them to get the proceeds, is the gap between them and those that sit in the offices to legislate and deliberate and take decisions on their behalf widening, or you think that we are gradually finding common ground between these two entities?
Oh, well, Martin, that gap will always widen because unfortunately, cocoa is an international commodity and the prices are determined on the international market. And for a very long time, our currency, the cedi, has not been performing very well until most recently. So the issue is that when you go to the international market, beans are being sold at rates that are not competitive to the farmer right now. But when it comes to those who are at the offices, their salaries and emoluments are determined by their superiors, by government. And so they will always go for this bargaining and able to get more resources, while the cocoa farmers' fate is tied to what is happening probably in Guatemala, it's happening in Colombia, it's happening elsewhere. So that argument, you cannot make it that much. But what we want to make, the argument we want to make is that in as much as we know Cocoa Board is doing all this work, we think the gap between how much the beans is being sold on the international market and how much they are receiving, the farmer is receiving, that used to be 70%. In recent times, is becoming wider, and we think Cocoa Board needs to do a lot more and give a lot more of the funds that come to them from selling the beans on the international market to the farmer. And that is what will help the farmer, because right now the average cocoa farmer is poor. They cannot even take care of their farmers, their family. But the CEO of Cocoa Board and the executives at Cocoa Board are flying first class into meetings in Europe and elsewhere. And that is where the problem is.
Thank you for your insights and thoughts you've brought to this conversation, Mr. Asiedu-Dartey.
Thank you very much for having me.
And he is a co-convener of the Ghana Civil Society Cocoa Platform, clearly expressing suggestions as to how the central government will be able to help farmers in general, and also the institution of the Cocoa Board to, deliver better services for its stakeholders. Your thoughts are also very welcome. We've been speaking to Obed Asiedu-Dartey, co-convener, Ghana Civil Society Cocoa Platform. This is still 3FM 92.7. Stay with us. We are going on to some other stories now, and it looks as though the conversations in the political sector isn't dying down anytime soon. And whereas we are awaiting a case that is at the Supreme Court seeking interpretation by some 3 statespersons, 2 doctors, 1 professor, 1 doctor, in fact 2 doctors I should say, these 3 individuals, 2 men, 1 woman, are seeking the Supreme Court to interpret how political parties allow the selection of leadership, both regional and national leadership, is done. Currently, for both the NPP and the NDC, and for almost all the parties in Ghana, they are practicing the delegate system, where just a select few take the decision on behalf of the majority of the party. But these 3 persons in court are seeking the court to properly interpret the rules of engagement so that the parties would allow any card-bearing member and in good standing to elect, whether the flag bearer, constituency level elections, regional level elections. They want everybody to participate. That is in court. It is still being, debated, and would update you when we do get any details regarding that. However, the National Democratic Congress has cautioned all its members, and the Council of Elders of the party are asking party members to immediately cease all activities related to its presidential primary. The elders say they are concerned about premature campaigns and endorsements of certain personalities and figures in the party. The council released a statement and we'll be taking you through some of the key aspects of the statement. It goes to say that the council reminds members of the umbrella family that only the National Executive Committee is constitutionally mandated to determine the timetable and guidelines for presidential primary. The statement also stresses that until the process is officially opened, no individual or group is authorized to engage in any form of campaign activity, urging members to focus on governance and successful implementation of government's reset agenda. The elders advise against activities they say have the potential to create division, distraction, or unnecessary internal competition. These include all forms of campaigning, mobilization, endorsements, publicity, or related activities intended to advance the presidential ambitions of any prospective candidate. The time for internal contests will come, but for now, our collective responsibility is to serve the nation and successfully implement the mandate entrusted to us. And that's the statement that has come in from the National Executive Council of the National Democratic Congress, cautioning or warning its members not to start advocating and campaigning when the current administration has still about some 2 years to go. They gave a part of their constitution that clarifies when campaigning can start. That hasn't come up yet. So if you are a member of the NDC in good standing, be mindful. You just may be expelled or sacked from the party if you flout this particular directive. It's night time, though, for the latest in the world of sports. Now, over the weekend, Guinness Ghana Brewers PLC successfully hosted the 2026 Guinness Ghana Annual Golf Championship at the Achimota Golf Club. My colleague Andrew Sefa Bamfo was there and filed this report.
On Saturday, the annual Guinness Ghana Golf Championship took place at the Achimota Golf Club, bringing together golfers, corporate leaders, government officials, and business executives for a full day of competition, hospitality, networking, and lifestyle experiences. The championship, which teed off at 6:30 a.m., attracted over 120 golfers and guests, reinforcing its growing place as one of Ghana's notable sporting and lifestyle platforms. The event, built on the success of the inaugural edition, further positioned Guinness Ghana as a business committed to creating high-value experiences that connect people, brands, sport, and community. Speaking after the event, Marketing and Innovations Director at Guinness Ghana, Sabina Menu, expressed their excitement and shared insights on the event.
Guinness Ghana is about delivering elevated experiences to our consumers. The golf community has become very close to us. This year we thought about changing the concept a little bit and bringing all our premium brands together on one platform. Ashimota Golf Club, we have signed a 3-year partnership with them. We're going to be revamping their bar space, so it's going to be changing to a very elevated premium experience. Again, that's Guinness stands for. We're looking for ways in which we can reach our consumers, give them moments that they can celebrate in the best ways possible.
After a grueling competition, Senna Babio and Letitia Mponta Mensah, who finished in first place in the men and women's Cat A category, shared their satisfaction.
I came with vengeance this year again to win it. And then Guinness has promised to be back next year. And I'll come again with the same vengeance to come and take it away. I'm very happy. And I feel like I am ready to face more golf competitions.
This is my second time playing. Last year was pretty good. This year obviously is getting better. Next year will obviously be better. I think it's a good initiative. It's good that Achimota can partner with brands like Guinness to create awareness obviously and to grow the game in Ghana. I'm excited that this year I got to take it. I'm looking forward to the future.
A major highlight of this year's championship was the announcement of a 3-year partnership between Guinness Ghana and Achimota Golf Club. Under the partnership, Guinness Ghana will support the club's monthly medal competitions and help elevate the clubhouse experience through improved refreshment, hospitality, and brand visibility.
Well, that was a report by my colleague Andrew Sifa-Banfo. Let's do some more here to Carlos Queiroz, who just had his press conference ahead of the match against Wales on Tuesday, where he spoke about what his impressions have been on the team so far and how preparations are going so far ahead of the game against Wales.
It is simple. We want to express ourselves in the game tomorrow as the best of our skills, efforts, commitment. As I said, the message it is simple. We want to play great football. We want to play to win. We want to bring pride and happiness to the fans. That's the only thing that I'm sure our players they have in mind. And the message it is a message of hope and confidence that being with them not for so many months, but the training sessions that I did with them, all of them, they are fully committed to deliver to the nation, to the flag. So I'm very much confident that the message will be positive tomorrow.
Well, the match between Ghana and Wales kicks off at 6:45 p.m. on TV3 and 3FM 92.7. My name is Aurel Kwampofo, and that's how we bring an end to Hot Edition here on 3FM. We'll be back again same time tomorrow.